All right, I think we got most folks here and I've got 5 o'clock. So let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome everybody. My name is Sean Eystone. I am joined by my fellow directors, Clausen, Eastham, Etsy, Godwin, Malone, and Williams, Superintendent Matt Degner, and Recording Secretary Kim Colvin, and other folks are on the call. So I'd like to welcome you and thank you for joining us. The first thing on our agenda is community comments. So if you would like to make some comments to the board tonight, you can use the raise hand feature and I will call on you and Kim will give you the rights to speak and you will have 4 minutes to do so. So is there anyone at this point that would like to make comments to the board? All right. Doesn't look like it. So we will go ahead and move on to our next item, which is our agenda approval for the evening. And I would entertain a motion for that.
Move approval of the agenda.
Second.
All right, Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
I'm a yay vote, Kim. I'm still getting logged in.
Thank you, Director Clausen. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thanks, Kim. Next up, we have our consent agenda. Were there any questions from folks that reviewed the bills this time around?
I reviewed the bills. I didn't have any questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any items directors would like to pull from consent? All right, if not, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
All right, Kim, I think we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. And we can move right on into our discussion items. And first up is an update on our upcoming school year. Matt?
Good evening, everybody. I think actually first thing before I talk a little bit about 21-22, and I'll keep that relatively brief tonight for some reasons I'll talk about. But the first thing, it's our first board meeting since we formally completed our school year. And so just wanted to say thank you again to all students, parents, staff, you guys on the board, the administrative team. It was really a year. I told the staff in my kind of end of the year email, I always have mixed feelings about, the last day countdowns or countdown to the last day of school and some of that, but definitely I think some cause for some celebration to complete this school year under all the different circumstances we had. And, a hashtag we had all year was ICCSD together. And I'm thankful for our group and for our team that we did stay together throughout the year and we're able to make it through. So, I don't think that should go unnoticed or unrecognized that, it was new challenges all the time. And it seemed like every time we kind of knew a plan or a path, we would get something that would alter that plan or path and we'd have to adjust and people just kept doing it and didn't complain and just kept moving forward. And so very appreciative of all involved with that effort. But as we turn the page to 21-22, you guys have heard me talk several times about some of our plans surrounding the ESSER dollars, but we did get some guidance from the state that we'll have to submit an ESSER plan formally to them. August 23rd is the due date for that. It doesn't open until July 1st. And so really what we're in what we're in the process of doing right now is survey development from our stakeholders to try to get some input on effective uses of those dollars and trying to just hold the line for a little bit until we know what's in that state plan that's released on July 1st. If we learned anything through COVID here, we know that sometimes there's some guidance given and then different guidance given a while later. And so we don't want to commit to anything too formally until we're sure of what's in that July 1st plan and what we need to account for in all those pieces. But in the meantime, we can collect input. We still have a strategy around those 7 different buckets I've talked to you about before that we think will be okay to develop into the plan, but we also want to make sure that the input matches some of our thoughts and ideas about best use to spend those dollars to help our students and staff in that effort. And just one more time, maybe for a quick review, some of the areas we've worked through to identify in those 7 different big buckets are COVID mitigation and prevention. Because remember, we're talking about not only ESSER $3, but our previous ESSER 1 and ESSER 2 funds, technology, at-risk supports, continuity of service, instruction under ESSA, learning loss, and then unspent balance relief. And that's really about the enrollment decline we saw last year that we don't anticipate continuing, but would have put us in a difficult budget situation this year if we'd had to just absorb the loss of those students and didn't have some extra dollars to help support that. So that's the general framework. But again, we're going to seek out some community input around that and some of the needs that parents see for their children that our other stakeholders communicate to us as well. You've heard us talk about specific things like nurses, summer school, classroom teachers, academic support. Some of those things we had to get in motion just so we could staff our buildings and prepare for what was in front of us. But other more long-range plans, we want to make sure that we've considered that input going ahead. The other thing I wanted to share with you tonight was we did release health and safety information around the summer and guidance around use of our spaces, which looks more normal than it would have during our COVID health and safety guidance that we'd put out throughout the year. So really represents a more normal return to the use of our facilities and programming aspects over the course of the summer. So that's a fairly quick summary of where we're at and some of the things we're thinking about as we approach our work for the summer and as we plan for the 21-22 school year. So I'd be happy to answer any more questions if somebody has something that they would like us to go more in depth on tonight. But as we get to July and we know more what's in that state plan, we'll be coming back with some more information and obviously that survey input as well.
Any questions, directors? Matt, can you remind me? I know it's not for next year, but was this week we started meals again, or is it next week?
This week, Sean.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Well, if there are no further questions, do you have anything else to share, Matt, or is that all you had for the item tonight?
Nope, that's all for the item this evening.
All right. If there's no further questions, let's go ahead and move on to our next discussion item, which is FMP 2.0. And I'll throw it back to you, Matt, and then you can toss it to whoever.
Sure. I just wanted to open with a couple of comments and then turn it over to Chase. As you know, we've been planning for Facility Master Plan 2.0 as we'll be seeking community support to continue some existing revenue streams that come into the district around SAVE and PEPAL revenues when we get to the November election time period. But what I really wanted to do is just take a minute to thank Chase and his team that have put a ton of time and effort and energy into preparing our plan here and these guiding principles they want to share with you guys tonight. We had a good operations committee meeting last week and just wanted to say hats off to him and kudos to him and the team for their work there and how we're approaching this from a thematic basis. Of course, we know Dwayne's been instrumental throughout all of our facility master planning, but really wanted to give some credit to Chase tonight and the leadership he's taken in this area to get us to the spot we are tonight to share these with you. And we're excited about the conversations ahead with the community and the work that will be done with our buildings moving forward. So Chase, with that, go ahead.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. Good evening. It's nice to be with you this evening. As Matt said, we had a great conversation last week or 2 weeks ago with the Ops Committee. And as a quick kind of recap, coming out of the board meeting last month, the board asked us to take some time and look at how the Portrait of a Graduate played into FMP 2.0 and then look at the guiding principles we provided and then maybe kind of skinny those down a little bit, combine them, and see what we come up with. 2 documents attached tonight. One does have those revised guiding principles, and I'll go ahead and share my screen so we can all look at that together. With Lisa and Janet and Charlie and the rest of our committee, we had a robust conversation, and we took what were 7 and we moved them down to these 4: ensuring equity and inclusion, growing early learning, increasing student opportunity through school design, and then supporting the whole child. As we talked at the ops committee, these four seem to float to the top of the discussion with the board, but looking for us to better define them a little bit and incorporate some of the others. There was one around climate change that is not included, and then also about varying learning paths that we've inserted throughout these different pieces. And so this is what we'd like to share this evening. First, as the guiding principles, I turn it over to Lisa, Janet, Charlie for any comments, or other board members for questions.
Chase, this is Charlie. I just hope we are clear that we are not removing any of those other guiding principles, especially climate change. There's a very clear feeling, I think, that climate change activities are part of everything that we're considering as we go forward here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlie, for making sure we mentioned that.
My only comment, Chase, is from the conversation we had that Tuesday, I'm very impressed with the final wordsmithing you and the team have done. You took some ideas we had around bucketing the items, but I think you did a masterful job labeling the 4 principles and describing what's included there. So just want to say, I'm very impressed with this. I think y'all did a really nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was going to say is I was going to echo Matt's comments of thanks and appreciation for the work that you did on this. For the other 4 board members, Chase brought actually kind of 4 different versions of this to the ops committee meeting. And that really gave us a chance to talk and discuss and what those options look like. And then we did have a great discussion, but then to see this final product, it's really impressive, Chase. I think it looks great. I think it's easily digestible, but also provides a lot of information, which is really hard to do. So thank you.
Thank you. So this is just the first step, right? We needed the board to get to their guiding principles so that we can move on and do the meat of the work, the community engagement. And I'm gonna stop sharing real quick so that I can actually share a different document. Actually, hold on 1 second. So when we start community engagement next week, what we're going to do is to take those guiding principles, and actually this is a document we showed you earlier in the year, but now we've built it out a little bit more, and we hope that we captured what the board was saying about ensuring that Portrait of a Graduate is set, well, here it looks literally on top of the school board's guiding principles, but almost like an umbrella over the work that we're doing. And so we can see here as we have our vision for ICCSD, FMP 2.0. We have our overview that it's still in draft form, so we will do that summary before we go out to community engagement. We have the Portrait of a Graduate competencies, and now the board has done kind of their first part on this and identifying really those guiding principles. And so we will take this out, not this document necessarily, but this, we hope to fill out the rest of this document through the community engagement process. And so what that looks like is going to be a lot like the process we utilized with the board in terms of looking at different priorities that the community might want us to put in here under your guiding principles as maybe those 5 or 6, we have placeholders for 6 priorities that will really drive this work. Last month, I shared that we had reached out to somebody in the community, but I wasn't sure I was of authority to announce that yet because I hadn't really confirmed with him, but I can tonight let the board know that we're going to partner with ICAD, and Tom Banta from ICAD has graciously agreed to facilitate our community engagements over July and into August. And so we're very excited. Kate and Tom have been huge champions of the school district, and so we're pleased that they're once again willing to partner with us as we do this work. And so Tom will lead our community stakeholders through exercises similar to what Matt and I and the committee have done with the board over the last several weeks about showing them different priorities and then letting them kind of pick the ones that they believe should guide this work. And as we've talked about, we're not going to do it just once. We're going to have 3 community engagement sessions. And Sean, you made a suggestion about maybe not having one on a Tuesday night, but possibly, I think you suggested looking at a Saturday or some other time to capture a different audience. And we had a great conversation about that as well at Ops Committee. we're not going to go with a Saturday, but we are going to change it up. And we're also going to offer something over the lunch hour. We're going to come up with a catchy title like Lunch and Learn or something, or FMP 2.0 Express, where people might not have a full 90 minutes, but they want to sit down and take 45 minutes or an hour over their lunch break and learn a little bit more about it and engage in the process. So we do think it's important to offer a variety of times. And so we're going to look at different ways to get that out there and to share with folks in the community. The last thing I will share with you all this evening, and we still are a little bit in the development piece. It's not final yet, but this is what Charlie was alluding to, of not losing some of those other items. So just like we showed you a list of potential principles, when we lead these conversations with the community, the cabinet and others inside the administration have put a lot of work into pulling out what could be some priorities and then building descriptions underneath them. And so we've got your principles. And as we talk through those principles, we'll show the community this list. And just as you had an opportunity to order yours, and I think 7, we're going to ask them to actually bucket 5 or 6 to start kind of whittling it down to what those are. We have about 25 on here, and you can see that some of them are connected to some of the themes that you have already established through your principles: social emotional learning to the whole child, manic schools through the different pathways. Climate was up top. You see STEM and STEAM. And so a lot of different more nuanced or more specific attributes that will now let the community kind of vote on and give us feedback on, that will continue to build out that part of what you all have already provided those general principles on. And I know I'm talking fast, but I get excited about this and then I start talking quickly. So I think it's going to be really great. It's a different way than we've engaged the community in the past. And we're very hopeful that they're going to be responsive and find it as engaging as we do. And thank you for your work so far. We have more work to do with you all. Not as fun as this a little bit as we start talking about ballot language and resolutions, but we'll definitely come back to you along the way and let you know those dates so that you can be there at community engagement sessions and be involved as well. With that, I'll take any questions the board might have.
Say, Chase, in terms of making that last document you showed available to all participants in this envisioning process, I would ask that we really pay attention to our translation. That's not translating that document from English to any other language, is not a Google exercise. Surely something that we need to really well-informed, well-versed translators, to do a good job, because it's going to. I was just thinking if I have that placed in front of me at a planning meeting, I have to spend the first half hour just trying to figure out what it says, and I have a hard time doing that in English. So I just saying, I think translation is really important as we put that out there.
Other directors?
I'm excited to Chase.
Good.
I was just going to say good work. We just have to come up with a better name for the lunch session. So we'll brainstorm that later.
All right, Dromy. Any ideas you have, send them my way, and we'll get them in there.
I do appreciate having a kind of a different time than all of the other ones. I will say that, and anybody that's been on DPO will attest that lunchtime on a weekday is not easy to get folks to. So I don't know how well that'll be attended, no matter how catchy the name is, but at least it's a different audience, right? I know that when the DPO started having evening meetings, their afternoons and their evenings definitely had different people at them. So I want to make sure we're getting out there to as many different folks as we can. So, but I also like the way we're doing it, looking at real high level priorities and really what we're trying to accomplish in the district, as opposed to, does this building need a new music room, right? Those things are certainly important, and we did a lot of that, thank God, right? We had a lot of that to do, and we did a lot of it. And so now I think it's much more directional instead of, retroactive, meeting the needs of things that were forgotten for many, many years, right? So I'm curious how it plays out. If directors don't have any more questions, we can move on. Looking around. All right. We will move on to our action items. And our first action item is we have our second reading of our board policies and hopefully adoption of them. I know there were a couple of minor things that we talked about at the last meeting, and then there was one policy, and I lost my paper that I wrote down what it was that maybe we were going to hold off and sort of adopt everything but that one policy. And Matt or Kim could probably tell me what that is. But Matt,
The
you want
dress
to?
code.
Yeah, I was trying to find the number so we can make the motion appropriate. But Matt, any context you want to give on this?
Sure. So you did a nice summary there, Sean. I think the big component is that we incorporated some equity statements in there. I think sometimes as we think about equity, part of our job has to be how we hardwire it into the district. And I think obviously rooting that in policy is a good way to make sure that those commitments are hardwired into the work we do. And so I think it was Charlie that brought those original suggestions. So I'd want to say thank you to Director Eastham for that and getting that rooted into our goals and objectives in the 100 and 600 components. The ones, yes, we would ask you to hold off on, and I'm trying to search here and look through, and I keep coming to the student conduct one instead of the dress
Is it
code.
502.1?
502.1, yep.
Yep, 502.1, there you go. I wanted to say 503.1 and I knew that wasn't right. So 502.1 is the dress code. In another policy that isn't in there now, but that we'll be bringing you because of action from the state legislature and governor, will be something around the Pledge of Allegiance that we'll need to have into our policy as well. So right now we still don't have the rules from the Department of Ed about what compliance with that policy will look like. So once we have that, then we'll write a policy and have that considered by P&G. Probably would be September would be my guess. A lot of times they get that guidance to us early August from the summer, from the last legislative session. So it'll either be July or August, and then we'll get that to a P&G meeting to be reviewed and to put into policy for you guys to approve. Dress code, we may do something sooner if we have it ready, just to have it ready for the start of the school year and code it into policy that way. But otherwise, yeah, those were the updates. And I think at this point, we're just bringing it to you for consideration on approval and action to have that be our new policy and governance structure formally moving forward.
So the pledge one would be an additional policy.
Yeah,
so
it's an
not
addition
something we
one. You
have
haven't
to-
seen anything around that yet, Sean.
We don't
Yep.
have to worry about the number tonight in a motion or anything. Okay. I throw it out there to directors with any questions or comments, but I do feel it's been a very long process and it was a lot of work, and it feels very, I don't know. It's not super sexy, right? Doing policy, but that is kind of our job. And I think this is a huge step. We had policy all over the place in a lot of different forms and not written really well in some cases. Some places it was really good, in other places it wasn't. And in some cases it contradicted other places and it was not great. And so I think this will be really helpful for all of us, when we're asked questions, what's the board's policy on something? I think it'll be a lot easier to actually tell you what it is. And I think that will be helpful for the administrative team to, make sure that we're true to those policies. I think there was a lot of, like I said, contradiction and wiggle room, if you will, to kind of interpret things how you will. And so I think this is a much better way of doing things. And I think it's written a lot better. So I'm very happy about the work that we've done. So with that, I'll throw it out there if there's any comments or questions before we adopt them.
Sean, I'd just like to say that in terms of incorporating the DEI plan of goals and into the policy, I'm really glad that's been done. And I would also say that I think that's something all of the board members are supporting. would support. And so I really appreciate Matt and your and Ruthina's drafting that language into the existing policy. So, and I'm very impressed with the work that I think you, Sean, Ruthina, and maybe Janet. I'm not sure who to give the most credit
Dromi.
for among, or Dromi. I'm sorry. You know, all of you deserve stars for doing this work. Very, very difficult, very time consuming, and but in the end, you've done a great, a great product here.
Thanks, Charlie. We have former board members that participated, and I will say that the admin team, you know, Chase and Brady and Matt and Amy and Diane and Dwayne, I don't know, there was a lot of folks that had their hands on different pieces of it. So we definitely shared the wealth on that one. And I appreciate all the work that was put into it. Any other comments or
I just
questions?
wanted to say, you know, thank the admin team. I know over the last, 3 years, that's how long it took us to hammer through those. They were some long meetings, but you know, based on the smiles I see on the screen, they were also fun meetings at times. So I do appreciate all the hard work from current board members and a former board member who shall not be named. So throwing that Harry Potter. He's probably watching and just like that dang Ruthina. But no, seriously, we put in a lot of hours to get that done. So I just wanted to say thank you.
You're here. Thank you. Well done. Much needed. It's really setting the district up for, you know, a very, very good foundation. So thanks, folks.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo that too. I really appreciate the work everybody put in, and it really helps us moving forward. So.
All right. I think on that note, then I would entertain a motion to adopt these policies minus the 502.1.
I move that we adopt the policy minus 502.1.
Second.
Any further discussion, folks? All right, Kim, I think we're ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
President Eystone, I just wanted to add one other thing to that, although it's passed. Wanted to shout out Kim Coven, because honestly, without her, being able to track everything that was said at those meetings, I don't think we would have such complete policies in front of us, because she did all of the editing, all of the tracking for every single discussion we had. And she actually, if we were given perfect attendance certificates for those meetings, she would definitely get one, because she was at every single one, because we couldn't meet without her being there, making sure we stayed on track. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And you'll notice it was Kim who knew it was 502.1. So that I should tell you something. Let's go ahead and move on to our next action item, is transferring money from the general fund to the student activities fund. So I don't know who wants to give a little update on that.
And I'll take it if you'd like.
No, that's fine. Yeah, Les is with us tonight, so Chase is gonna just provide a little update there. It's pretty straightforward.
So Les provided a cover. It's his anniversary today, so we let him have the evening off to celebrate. But he did provide a cover memo. And if you recall, athletics has been tied tightly to school operations since the pandemic began. And the legislature approved House File 602 that allowed for this transfer. We didn't just look at lost revenues from this year because that would have been difficult to do. We went back and did some calculating over the last 3 years. And the number we've come up with is $400,000 While we did continue to hold athletic events, we had 0 attendees or very limited capacity. Our booster clubs couldn't raise money. Our concession stands, for example, were not open most of the year. And so there was a lot of lost revenue stream for athletic programs this year. And so we're asking tonight for the board to consider this transfer of $400,000 from the general fund to our student activities funds.
Actually click the unmute button so I can talk. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Seems pretty straightforward to me.
All right. Then I would entertain a motion.
I move that we pass the resolution for transfer of funds from general fund to student activity fund.
Second.
Second. Sorry, Charlie.
Take your pick, Sean.
Yeah, I'll let Kim figure that out. I think you got a second, a third, a fourth, and maybe a fifth on that one. But I think we're ready to vote, Kim.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you, Kim. And as we get to the end of June, that's the end of our fiscal calendar, which usually means that new contracts are starting and old ones are ending, and probably means that people are moving on to bigger and better things. And so we'd like to recognize a couple of those folks that this may be their last meeting and move on to other things. And so Greg Schultz and Dwayne Van Heemer are, you know, we're recognizing them tonight for all the great work that they did. And I will go first since I'm already talking, but I will be very brief. So I'll start with Greg Schultz. I know that there were some big shoes to fill at West High with folks leaving there previously, and you moved over there and did some great work there. And then we had, you know, a huge need for an online program this past year, and that was a role that you stepped in and filled in admirably. And I can't imagine a better person for the job. So I really appreciate all the work you did there. And in the past, you know, the whole time you've been in this district, I really appreciate all the work you've done here. And like I said, I'll be very brief so other people can get all gushy. Dwayne, I just wanted to say, I appreciate how adaptable you had been in our meetings as we ran through the last iteration of the FMP and constantly changed directions and sped it up, even though I think there was a request to do that. We did speed it up, which I know put a lot of stress on you and your team, and they all performed admirably there. And I think with you steering that ship, probably covered up a lot of things that we didn't know about with contractors, you know, not meeting deadlines, and you had to step in and make them happen. And we got our buildings done, you know, on time and under budget. That's the words we like to use, right? And I love both of those things. And I think your leadership there really made that happen. So my thanks to both you, Dwayne, and you, Greg, for all of the work that you've given to this district. And I will let other folks jump in as they may.
I'll go. Greg and Dwayne, I hope that, you know, your next paths take you far and that you enjoy this next sort of careers that I know, Greg, you're starting, and Dwayne, that you get to enjoy retirement with your grandkids. Greg, I just wanted to say, you know, from every time I've talked to you, especially when I would come over and visit you at West, I could truly see your pride that you had, not only for West, but from working in the district, and that you tried to give your everything every day that you showed up, no matter what we asked you to do as a district. So that is definitely appreciated. And I can't thank you enough for everything that you did in running the online program this year. Dwayne, thank you for just being so kind to me as a new board member. When I first started, you always checked in on me after meetings, and I truly did appreciate that, as well as your hard work. And every single building that I walk into, I know that you had a hand in something that has taken place in that building to make our district such a great district for our students. So thank you for everything that you've done, and I wish you all the best.
I'll jump in, Greg and Dwayne. I think you both can feel extremely proud of your contributions to our school district. You are both leaving behind an amazing legacy, touching students, other educators in the work that you've done, Greg at West, and Dwayne and the work you've done in our buildings. And so the legacy's there. Feel good and proud about your accomplishments. And I know you're going to miss these board meetings. And so you'll be beside yourselves on Tuesday evenings, not knowing what to do. I feel very bad for you, but I do wish you both the very best in your next steps, and deepest appreciation and thanks. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I'll chime in. Greg, I really appreciate the dedication you've shown to this district for a long time, and bring really a lot of passion and compassion to the work, as well as really a real head for, I think, systems and the way things work. And I think I know you've left us in a better place. And I appreciate all that you've done, both at Northwest and at West these past few years. And I wish you well. I'm really excited for you on your next adventure. It sounds like you get to bring that same dedication and compassion to all over the world. So good luck there. And Dwayne, I probably can't say enough about the impact you've had on our facilities. I think when we think about equity, when we start with equitable facilities, I think that really is something that goes a long way towards really telling us that every kid matters, and that we're going to put the time and effort into these buildings. And I think you can see that in those buildings, whether it's something beautifully historic preservation like we did at Lincoln and at Mann and at Longfellow, or it's putting up a gem of a school out in North Liberty. Whether that's an elementary or secondary, your impact is going to be felt probably for a good century or so, at least, in those buildings. And so that speaks a lot to your dedication. And like Sean said, the fact that we were able to accelerate this and still come in on time and on budget is impressive. And so thank you for that work. And I just went to Dubuque last weekend, so you've got some great views and some really great restaurants to look forward to here in your retirement. So enjoy that.
I'll just echo everything that's already been said. We didn't get to spend much time working together in person, my short in-person tenure, but it's been a joy to work with both of you virtually these past year and a half. Good luck on your next adventure. And thank you. Thank you both for everything you've done to the district. It's really been remarkable to see the quality of work that we have at the ESCs, and you both are a huge part of that.
I would join Lisa in saying that I haven't met both of you in person, but I just want to say thank you for the value that you brought to the district. Good luck in your next adventure. And Greg, I'm sure when you move from Nigeria, you can move to Ghana too. Just let me know.
I'd just like to say to Greg that I didn't think anybody could to manage the development of a full online instructional program in, I don't know, a day or so that you had to do it in, starting last spring. So if that's your, if you want to tout that as your sole professional accomplishment, that would go a very long way. But I know you did many other things too. I do seem to remember at one point hearing you say that in terms of our equity work, that what occurs in the classroom is what matters to us. And that's what we have to focus on. And I've tried to remember that in the things that I've tried to do here. Dwayne, I'm really sorry that you're not continuing. Your ability to do facilities development and management is unprecedented, I think. You do it with grace, aplomb, and flawlessly. So I hope that you stay in touch with us and continue to help us as we work on our buildings. I would say, that I know you've had some disagreement with with some people in the past, but that's never you've never let that bother you, and you continue to work and produce what you do as a professional, which really helps, obviously, every kid in this district. So thank you so much, and I wish both of you the best as you continue in your careers.
Go ahead, Brady.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So thanks, Matt. On behalf of the Iowa City Education Association, I'd like to say congratulations and thanks to both of you. And Dwayne, I mean, there certainly is a century legacy that you've built with our facilities, but far more than that, what I'll always remember is how much of a gentleman and scholar that you are. And I think those of us who have worked closely with you, that's going to be, that's a legacy, and that's really something that I hope you take a lot of pride in. So thank you for that. And Greg, we've known each other 20 years. And so one of the great joys and privileges that I've had is getting to know you and also your family. And sometimes, you're fortunate enough as a teacher to have colleagues, kids, and both of your daughters are just tremendous people. I just think the world of them. And that's a direct testament to you and to Amy. And I'll always remember, of course, sitting next to Amy at parent teacher conferences at West High School. And that's something that I'll hold close to my heart. So I want to just thank you for everything that you've done for our district, and know that I hope you understand that this is probably I hope it can be the biggest compliment that I can give to you, but you've certainly helped me to become a much better teacher. So thank you, Greg.
I just wanted to share my appreciation to both of you guys. We got a chance to brag on you a little bit at our admin celebration last week, but Greg, I think our first conversation centered around early outs due to heat release and what to do with athletic practices after school as junior high principals. When I came in, I remember a phone call talking to you. I don't know if that was the very first one, but it's the first one that sticks out. And Dwayne, bringing that full circle with what we've been able to do with air conditioning, as people talked about that century-long legacy and the impact you've had in every building. I think the thing I would say about both you guys is I feel like every time I've talked to either one of you, I always learn something and always get better. And so thank you for that, because I know you've not only done that for me, you've done that for countless people that you've worked with and come in contact with through our district. So good luck in your next steps. And Dwayne's not getting too far away. We're going to keep him close and get some input on FNP 2.0. So he won't be able to totally get rid of us, and maybe even see him at a board meeting or two, but good luck, guys.
Either one of you like to have a mic drop moment?
No mic drop moment, but I would like to thank the board. Being on the board is such a selfless act, and I really admire those of you who do this for absolutely no pay. So I just really appreciate your dedication to our students and to service to our community. In some, I'm very proud of the work that I was able to share in this district, and I do hope that I was able to leave things a little bit better than when I found them, and impact people positively. That was certainly always my intent. So we are going far away for a while, but we do hope to settle back here in this area, and when we do, I hope that we will be well met, and we'll be able to have conversations and reminisce about the crazy year that this was. I do appreciate the comments about the online work that we tried to do this year. It was certainly not just me. I would just comment going from 5,000 or 6,500 to 500 next year. There's going to be a little bit of a growing pains in the program, and feel free to blame that on me. I've tried my best, but it will be there might be a few bumps in the road as we go from such a large group to a smaller, more dedicated group online. But I do know, having got a chance to work with Luke, my successor, absolutely fantastic hire. And so he's going to bring a wealth of great stuff to this district. So I'm really happy for the district going forward. And I think I told this to the faculty at West and Northwest, I'll be your biggest fan from West Africa. Thank you.
Well, first, I'd like to say thank you. Most of you know me as a man of few words, and Chase said I had to hold it to 15 minutes, but I'll do better than that, Chase. I would be remiss if I didn't say I was proud of the work that we've done, and that's everybody. I mean, this board, previous boards, my fellow administrators, my staff, I mean, everybody, and it truly, truly is the team effort. And I hope it's remembered that way, because it takes everybody to do that. It takes the board directors to make the decisions. It takes the guy digging the ditches and pouring the concrete. And that's what it's been from top to bottom. And I told somebody, I know you've heard me say this before, but it was a construction symphony. It's just a lot of moving pieces. And I was just the lucky guy that fell in at the right time and got to use the baton, so I appreciate all the support I've had over the years. It has been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. And hopefully the people that work with me have learned. We keep this ball rolling, and you got Jeff Barnes following me up, and Jeff's going to do a good job. I know he will. He's been my partner for the last 8 years, and I think he's learned a lot. I've seen him mature. He's a really smart guy, and I think you guys will enjoy working with him. So, and Matt's right. I will stick around a little bit and help out. I just can't walk away from it. Got too much time invested in it. There's more to do. I'd love to stick around and watch it all get done. So I plan on doing that. And to everybody, I say thanks.
Thank you both so much. And I think if you want to stick around till everything is done, we're going to have to figure out how to put you on ice, because that's a never-ending task probably. Our next item up here is our agenda setting, and I wanted to remind everybody that we will, this is likely our last Zoom meeting. So if Dwayne and Greg want to come to the next meeting, you actually walk into the room and I guess meet Dromi face to face and some other people. So you're welcome to attend that. But let's go ahead and get into our agenda setting, and you'll see what's on there is we had our calendar that we sort of adopted a while back when we were having Zoom meetings where they were all starting at 5. But as we go back to having them in person for our first one in July, it will move back to its normal time of 6 to try and accommodate folks that have to, drive to get there and make sure everybody can get off of work and things like that. So that's the plan. We do have a operations committee meeting scheduled on the 6th. And I think they'll start talking about draft ballot language. And then we also have a board meeting on the 13th. And I think it's all of the regular stuff plus visiting that draft language that will be discussed at the operations meeting. And we also have a work session scheduled on the 13th, which is kind of a follow-up or a continuing of the conversation that we had at our last meeting on our social emotional behavior, mental health supports, and special ed updates in chapter 103. So we will have that conversation in a work session setting to just kind of have a more open discussion. So there's a fair amount there, but are there any questions on that or anything directors or admin would like to add to either the regular meeting on the 13th or the work session? Are there
I just
Oh, go
want to
ahead.
add that I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in person.
Charlie?
So Sean, I probably missed this, but so the operations committee meeting is still going to be virtual? Is that right? Or do we know?
I don't think it will be able to be, we'll have to do in person. Our anticipation is that anything after, I was looking back at my calendar here, June 26th, with the emergency proclamation expiring, we'll have to have the in-person component. We did get some initial legal opinion from Joe around exploring a hybrid option. We would have to still meet ADA compliance issues. There are some, technologies out there that people have been exposed to throughout the pandemic. Some of what we're evaluating with that, with trying to do something in conjunction with the hybrid option would be air rate for things around closed captioning, if it would meet ADA compliance. And so some of you may have been on a YouTube and seen closed captioning, or a Zoom call and seen the closed captioning, but really the standard for some of that would be more like what you think about with the stenographer, being able to record what people are saying in the moment, and being able to get that in a closed captioning format. Some of those other technologies have a higher error rate, which might not reach that. So it's not a no by any means, but it's just part of the process we're working through as we explore that hybrid conversation about if we'd want to continue some type of an electronic forum for higher community participation or access to folks. And so we'll keep working through that and update you guys as we have more info. But I think the quick answer to your question, Charlie, is anything after the 26th would need to be done in person.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other things about our upcoming meetings? All right. I too look forward to seeing everybody's faces not in a tiny little square. Anything further for the cause? All right. If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Hi.
Bye.
Aye. All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the nice weather.
Thanks, everybody.
See you all soon.